everyone. In today's video, we're breaking down the anatomy of an email and the components that really build that cohesiveness from the very first line to the final sign off.
Yeah, we're going to talk about headers, signatures, and footers. These parts are really easy to overlook in email marketing, but they're doing a ton of heavy lifting. You nail them, and then your email feels intentional and professional. You miss them, and it can feel super scattered and unfinished.
Yeah, and some of these elements might seem small, but they really frame your message, build trust, and guide the reader through to the action.
Mhm.
So let's take a closer look at each of these.
All right, so let's start at the top, the visual header. When we say header, we're talking about the visual section inside your email, not your subject line or your preview text. And this is the branded block right at the top once you open that email.
Yeah, it's usually where your logo lives,
Mhm.
and it maybe has a tagline or a navigation bar, and those links are featured pages on your site. Think of it as the visual anchor that instantly tells people this is from us and here are some places you can go.
Yeah, and if your brand is more minimal, your header might just be a small logo, right? It doesn't have to be this huge image across the top. It can be a clean line of text. And again, for more heavily designed brands, it could be that full width banner. Either way, it sets the tone and it establishes consistency for your brand.
Yeah, and just want to note here that when you're talking about headers, you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overload it with, tons of imagery or really large image files and stuff like that. You want to keep it clean, mobile friendly, and aligned with your brand vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you, Audrey, but I see some emails that I'm just like, oh, this is a disaster. Like, it feels very overwhelming if it's overloaded. And it can have like too many things to click or too many images or just too big of a font. Like, it just can feel overbearing. So, yeah, I love that you pointed that out as well. So the next thing that we want to talk about is the middle of your email. And this is the meat, right? It's whatever the content of your email is, and it's the reason you're sending the email. And this usually includes you've got some copy in there, you've got some images, and then you usually round it up with a CTA.
All right, now let's move to the bottom of the email, but not quite the end. This is the signature. So this usually includes your name, can include your face if you want it to, and potentially your role or title.
Yeah, and if you're writing as a brand, the signature is where you show some personality. You can include a little tagline, a fun sign off, or even a link to your latest podcast episode or like a booking page.
Yeah, and a great signature also reinforces trust. So it can be really humanizing to your email. Readers know who's talking to them, and sometimes you can even do it as like a little signature font so that it really looks like it's from you.
Yeah, and if you're designing your own signature font for them, just a little heads up. I love the Brittany font for it's just a beautiful cursive and it's really easy to read. So, just a little side note.
Good tip.
All right, now let's talk about the part most people actually forget when they're putting out an email, designing it, sending it, and that is the footer. It's not flashy, but it does matter. It's where you handle all of that legal stuff and you quietly build some credibility.
Yeah, you want your footer to include your business name and physical address. These are actually required for compliance with the CAN-SPAM Act. And you also need to include a way to unsubscribe. So that's also absolutely essential to comply with all of the laws and legal requirements of emailing. And then there's some optional bits here. This can include little, tedious things like a link to your privacy policy or disclaimers if you're in the coaching, health, or finance industry. Those things can be really important to include. But it can also be engaging links like icons leading to various social media platforms or an invitation to join your referral program or become a wholesaler. So all of that kind of stuff can live in that footer.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to remember that a clean and branded footer is like the closing credits of your email, right? It wraps everything up with professionalism. So I opened up an email recently. It was beautifully done. Like the footer, you got to the bottom though, and the footer was like, ah, it was like bright. The colors were so bright. And then the writing within the footer was like white and against the color in the background, I could not even make out what it was saying. I couldn't figure out where the unsubscribe was. Like you'll notice that on some emails that like the font is not even readable or the colors don't match the feel of the rest of the email, which might have been more minimalist and like soft tones. And then you're like, bam, right? You don't want to end an email like that. I've seen it before and it kind of turns me off, especially if I want to unsubscribe and I can't find the
I
damn.
was gonna say that actually, breaks the
It does.
compliance in the Can Spam Act actually requires that your unsubscribe be easy to find and easy to click. So if you're
Yeah.
doing a white on white background, that is not in compliance with that
Nope.
law.
Nope, not at all.
So before we wrap up, let's talk about one of the most underrated parts of the email, which is the PS.
Mm.
So it may seem weird because we often think of a PS as kind of like an afterthought when you're writing in a personal email. But in reality, the PS is one of the most read parts of the email, aside from the very first line.
You're so right, Audrey. And it's because people's eyes are naturally drawn to the beginning and the end of an email. And I don't know about you, but I am a skimmer. And I'm like, especially if I'm busy and I'm reading an email, I'm skimming, right? I'm like, I'm looking at what is this about at the beginning, skim to the bottom, see if there's a deal I want to catch. I maybe, I notice the PS if there's ever one there. And that's what makes it such a golden opportunity to reinforce the message and drive action. You might be sharing a sale at the top of the email. Someone scrolls through, you remind them in the PS when the sale ends, and they're like, oh crap, I need to do this now. You can create some urgency there as well. So,
Yeah, it's a golden opportunity to reinforce that message or
mhm.
drive action. You can also use it to kind of highlight your main takeaway, repeat your CTA, add a sense of urgency, or even drop a little personality or extra value in there. So, like a client win or a quick reminder or a fun surprise.
Yeah, and I know I already said about skimmers, but again, I just kind of want to like mention again, like even the people that don't start reading at the top of the email, more than likely they're going to scroll to the bottom and the PS is going to be something that they see. So make it count, right? All right, so to wrap it up, basically, don't sleep on your header, your signature, or your footer. They might be small, but they set the tone, they build trust, and they help you to close strong.
Yeah, and if you liked this breakdown, hit that like button and tell us in the comments which part of your email anatomy do you need help with the most.
And don't forget to subscribe because we've got more videos coming to you to help you fine tune every part of your email game. So hopefully, we'll see you next time.